Most people believe torture requires noise or screaming. They are mistaken. To truly break a narcissist, you do not touch them. You do not fight them. And you do not follow their rules. You allow their own mind to do the work for you. Carl Jung warned that the shadow is dangerous. For a narcissist, the shadow is unbearable. They have spent their entire life running from their own reflection. When they are forced to face it, the structure holding them together begins to fail. This is not about revenge. It is about psychological collapse. It is about exposing the weak points in the mask and allowing the false reality to fall apart on its own. This is not cruelty. It is the natural consequence of living behind an illusion. The first shift begins when the narcissist is no longer the center of your inner world. Many people think power in relationships comes from money, decisions, or control over time. For a narcissist, real power comes from attention. Attention is the throne. They rule because your emotional gravity points toward them. Your thoughts, your reactions, your planning all orbit their moods. In Jungian psychology, attention is not passive, it is psychic energy. Jung described this energy as libido, not just sexual desire, but the full force of life energy used to think, feel, imagine, and connect. For much of the relationship, this energy flowed toward them. You powered their false self. Your mind tracked their tone. Your body reacted to their presence. You adjusted your behavior to keep peace. Even when they were absent, they occupied your thoughts. This constant focus blurred the boundary between you and them. Their emotions felt like yours. When you stop giving them this central position, you are not starting arguments or issuing ultimatums. Arguing keeps them important. Conflict still feeds the throne. Removing them from the center means you reclaim your energy. You stop prioritizing their internal state above your own. This is deeply painful for them because it removes the stabilizer holding their identity together. They do not have an inner source of worth. They rely on reflection from others to feel real. When your energy withdraws, it feels like the lights going out in a room they cannot stand to be alone in. This cannot be performed as an act. Narcissists are highly sensitive to emotional signals. They read posture, tone, breath, and tension. If you act indifferent while still emotionally charged, they sense it. Any emotional charge, even anger, confirms they still matter. To truly remove their importance, something internal must shift. This requires grief. You must grieve the image you held of them. In Jungian terms, this is the imago, the inner picture of who you believed they were. Often this image was not the real person, but a projection of what you needed. A protector, a nurturer, a partner who could finally see you. They encouraged this projection early on by mirroring your desires. But that person never existed. Accepting this truth hurts. It means mourning a dream. It means letting go of hope that they will change. It means facing that you were interacting with a mask. When this grief is processed fully, something shifts. Anger fades. Hatred dissolves. What remains is a heavy, grounded indifference. This indifference is not coldness. It is acceptance. When you reach this place, your behavior changes naturally. The narcissist feels it immediately. Where you once reacted, you no longer do. Their moods no longer spike your nervous system. You continue your day unaffected. You are not punishing them. You are simply no longer managing them. Their chaos no longer enters your body. They may try to provoke you. They may accuse you of being selfish or uncaring. Before, this would have pulled you into defense. Now it does not. You no longer need to prove your goodness to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You respond minimally or not at all. This absence of friction destabilizes them. They rely on exporting their inner disorder into you. When you refuse to carry it, it stays with them. Anxiety turns inward. Shame has nowhere to go. They begin to panic. Without an audience, their performance collapses. By reclaiming your energy, you remove the oxygen from their world. As this happens, their next defense activates. They cling to the image they present to the world. In Jungian psychology, this is the persona, the mask used to meet social demands. For healthy people, the persona is flexible. We know it is not the whole self. For the narcissist, there is no separation. They believe they are the mask. There is no solid self behind it. Their persona might be the hero, the victim, the genius, or the martyr. This story admits no flaws and requires constant validation. You do not shatter this illusion by attacking it emotionally. When you rage, they dismiss you as unstable. Your emotion becomes their shield. To disrupt the illusion, you must reflect reality calmly. You become a mirror. You state facts without emotion. This creates cognitive dissonance. They believe they are superior. Reality quietly contradicts that belief. They need you to agree with their story. When you stop doing that, cracks form. When they exaggerate or rewrite reality, you do not argue endlessly. You state what happened and disengage. You do not over-explain. You do not seek agreement. You simply remain anchored in reality. This unsettles them deeply. A manipulator fears nothing more than being seen clearly. When their tricks fail, they experience exposure. This often triggers rage. The intensity may increase. This is not failure. It is proof you touched the core. This rage is meant to scare you back into submission. If you remain calm, their power dissolves further. Over time, maintaining their false reality around you becomes exhausting. They want easy validation. They want compliance. When they cannot get it, they retreat or escalate. Either way, the illusion weakens. As you continue this process, something deeper happens inside you. You become untouchable. Not because you disappear or shut down, but because there is no psychological access point left. Their insults do not land. Their guilt does not hook you. Their anger meets nothing inside you. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming whole. When this happens, the narcissist does not feel challenged. They feel irrelevant. They never saw you as separate. They saw you as an extension of themselves, a function, something meant to serve their ego. Individuation breaks this illusion. You reclaim the parts of yourself you gave away. Jung spoke of the golden shadow, the positive traits we repress and project onto others. Many survivors projected their strength, intelligence, and resilience onto the narcissist. You believed they were powerful because you did not yet see your own power. As you reclaim these traits, they shrink in your perception. They lose the borrowed glow. This is devastating to them. They depended on your projection. When it disappears, they are left with their own emptiness. They may try to devalue your growth. They may minimize your success, but their words no longer define you. You know who you are. Their envy becomes visible. Their attacks lose force. As your inner conflicts resolve, their accusations lose their hooks. You accept your complexity. You accept your needs. When they call you selfish, it no longer wounds you. You may even agree calmly. This neutrality drives them into desperation. They search for new ways to provoke you, but there is nothing left to grab. Eventually, they can no longer regulate themselves through you. You stop absorbing their emotions. Rage returns to them. Guilt stays with them. They may attempt to become helpless, to trigger your caretaker role. You see this clearly now. You feel empathy without responsibility. You set boundaries without guilt. By living fully as yourself, you become unreachable. You see them clearly. They can no longer touch you. Your freedom confronts them with their limitation. Your existence outside their control becomes unbearable. You do not need to destroy them. Their own inner world does that for you. The fourth way targets the narcissist's most basic and immediate dependency, narcissistic supply. While this term is often used loosely, it is important to understand the exact psychological function it serves to see why cutting it off causes such intense distress. For a narcissist, supply is not just a craving for attention or praise, it is essential for their psychological stability. Their personality cannot sustain itself. In Jungian terms, they have no access to the self, the central archetype of wholeness and order. Instead, they depend entirely on the outside world to regulate their self-esteem and confirm their reality. Supply is proof that their persona, the mask they wear for the world, is working. When you react to them, you validate their impact, their presence, and their influence. It does not need to be positive. Many believe narcissists only want admiration. That is wrong. They crave influence. If they can make you laugh or cry, they feel powerful. If they can make you tremble with fear, they often feel even stronger. Any reaction sustains the hierarchy they have created. Cutting supply is the strategic refusal to confirm their existence. It is not aggression. It is a total stop of emotional participation. When you stop reacting, you stop serving as the mirror for their false self. Without a mirror, they cannot see themselves. This triggers a deep existential panic. The most effective way to do this is through total emotional neutrality. This is more than ignoring them. Ignoring can still be emotional, often motivated by anger or revenge. True neutrality is an absence of internal charge. It is being a void. When they insult you, you offer no defense. When they charm you, you offer no relief. You become a blank screen on which their drama cannot register. This silence is deafening for a narcissist because it forces them to depend on themselves, which they cannot do. They spent their lives suppressing their shadow, creating a facade. That facade only works with a constant audience. When the audience leaves, the actor is exposed, a delusional person on an empty stage. This strategy reaches beyond your home. Narcissists divide their life to maximize supply. They have a partner for dominance, a boss for validation, a social group for moral superiority. These compartments are separate because the persona relies on ignorance of their shadow. The people at work or church must believe they are saintly, while privately they are cruel. This creates a weak point. They live in constant fear that the truth will leak between compartments. By cutting off your supply and silently witnessing their hypocrisy, you hold a sword over them. You represent the potential for total social exposure. You do not need to act. You do not need to warn anyone. The mere possibility of exposure terrifies them. If you yelled threats, they would know what to expect. Silence makes them guess. They project their own fear onto you, imagining plots and schemes. They expend psychic energy constantly trying to calculate what you might do next. This creates a paranoid loop. You reverse the dynamic. For years you monitored them, walking on eggshells. Now they monitor you, afraid of your neutrality. Imagine a dinner party with a narcissist. They perform, telling a story where they are the hero. Perhaps it is a lie or exaggeration. They scan the room for nods and smiles. Their eyes fall on you. They expect submission. Instead, you meet them with neutrality. You do not scowl. You do not smile. You simply look with quiet awareness. You do not interrupt. You do not accuse. You hold the weight of truth. In that instant, they experience a spike of stress. They are aware you see the shadow behind the mask. They are anxious to know if you will speak. They continue performing under tension. Their focus is divided. They may stumble, forget, or become short-tempered. By withholding support, you lower their mental edge. Jung described this as a done mental, a reduction of consciousness when overwhelmed by a complex or emotion. Deprived of supply, consumed by paranoia, they lose sharpness. They make errors. They snap at friends. They may contradict themselves. Silence forces them to reveal themselves. This creates a double bind. They cannot gain supply from you, yet they cannot attack you fully without risking exposure. They are stuck. They may try to hoover, attempting to lure you back with charm, gifts, apologies, or crises. They may fake sickness, emergencies, or vulnerability. This is not a change of heart. It is a desperate attempt to restore the emotional drug they crave. If you respond with concern or anger, you refill their tank. If you maintain polite detachment, acknowledging without investment, they grow exhausted. Starved of supply, they face their own emptiness. Without your reactions to distract them, their mind becomes unbearable. They have no internal structure to stabilize themselves. They are hollow. Like a balloon inflated only by someone else, they deflate when the supply stops. They feel dead and bored, terrified by a life without attention. They have no private hobbies, no inner depth, no independent interests. They are parasites, and when the host withdraws, the parasite weakens. This method requires endurance. Silence is uncomfortable. It opposes our instinct to resolve conflict or connect. But with a narcissist, connection is impossible. The only resolution is disengagement. Cutting supply is not punishment. It is allowing natural consequences to take hold. If you have chosen silence and distance over chaos, you know this power. Your absence forces them to confront themselves. They face the narcissistic shadow they spent years projecting outward. Alone, they suffer. They sit with the consequences of their choices. They feel the void of your attention. The house is silent, not in peace, but as judgment. They try to create stories to explain the pain. You are the problem. Life is unfair. I am a victim. Without your emotional validation, the lies ring hollow. Cognitive dissonance grows unbearable. On a physical level, they know they are responsible for their misery. The mind's tension translates into the body. Insomnia, panic, digestive issues, chronic pain, all emerge. Their vessel rebels against the lies they cannot escape. You do not need to intervene. Angry messages or reminders return them to you. By staying absent, you trap their focus inside themselves. They consume their own negativity. The snake eats its own tail. They cannot repent. A healthy person in pain asks, "What is wrong with me? How can I change?" The narcissist asks, "Why is this happening? Who is doing this to me?" They cannot look inward. They are stuck in effect, doomed to repeat the cycle. Jung said, "Until the unconscious is made conscious, it directs your life and you call it fate." The narcissist is imprisoned by fate. They destroy relationships and sit in the wreckage, confused and victimized. Your absence condemns them to confront themselves. Every morning they wake to their own mind. Every night they sleep with their thoughts. For someone who hates themselves, this is ultimate punishment. They may attempt to hoover. It is not connection. It is desperation to break the mirror. If you maintain your boundaries, they are forced back into the pit of their own mind. This is ultimate justice. It is not aggression or revenge. It is simply the restoration of natural order. Your life continues with growth, potential, and connection. Their life continues as repetition of a broken pattern. They are the architects of their own suffering. By leaving you are no longer the air conditioning cooling their fire. The cruelest thing is letting them be alone with their own mind. You do not need to destroy them. You only need to exit the role they require. The moment you step off the stage, the play ends. Their system collapses because it was never built on reality. It relied on your submission. By withdrawing your energy, standing in truth, healing yourself, and cutting supply, you are not punishing them. You are simply returning them to themselves. You allow consequences to reach them. You break the cycle of abuse by refusing to pass pain forward. If something in you knows the next step is unfolding, move at that pace. Continue toward the life your unconscious has been guiding you back to.